Now we're going to continue our conversation on the massive Vox adpocalypse and the YouTube censorship, the overall big tech censorship on the internet with our next and final guest, Trent wait, hold on a second. Trent Lapinski. I keep thinking it's Lowinski for some reason. Yeah, Trent Lapinski. So Trent, would you like to introduce yourself and give us just a rundown of who you are, what you do, and where we can find you on the internet?
Yeah, I'm Trent Lapinski, and I'm an executive in the tech industry. I've worked for a number of different startups. I'm a former tech CEO. I ran my own startup I sold about 4 years ago. And yeah, I currently consult in the tech industry. I'm in San Francisco right now. And I've been in this space for a while, so you can find me at Trent Lapinski on Medium, on Twitter. I just started a new podcast called TechPost.io.
Nice.
And you can find me there.
And on TrentLapinski.com.
Yeah, that as well.
Yes, I just want to make sure we got all that in. So, I think Dictator Phil, you reached out to Trent. I'll let you start the conversation then, since you got into contact with him.
Yeah, I was very intrigued by Mr. Lapinski because he has this really solid tech knowledge, and I felt like if we're gonna do this show, we needed somebody with a really good knowledge of what's going on, and like, so and I follow him. I've paid close attention to him, and it's a pleasure, Trent. It's a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
so from your position, and I mean I've read up like a lot of what you said, like with your Twitter feed and stuff. What's your I don't want to say opinion or about this whole thing, because this whole thing
Analysis.
is like this whole thing is nuts. So what for you? What's a good how do you see this whole thing?
So for some context for the listeners, like, they need to understand that San Francisco and Silicon Valley is a bubble. A lot of the people here, they went to colleges, like the college you're at. They moved to the Bay Area. They only really interact with the people they work with. They don't really interact with people outside that. So they've got a lot of political beliefs and opinions and ideologies, and unfortunately they enforce those ideologies at work. And they're the ones who are working for these tech companies. They're the ones who are making these decisions. And unfortunately, I mean, the only way I can describe it is a lot of these people are just brainwashed. And they're brainwashed to the left, they're brainwashed to the right, whatever their ideology. Obviously, in Silicon Valley and San Francisco, it's mostly to the left. And they just don't, they don't value American values. They don't value freedom of speech. They don't value liberty. They don't understand that if they make a decision that cuts off monetization for an independent journalist, that they're destroying their entire livelihood. It's just, they're behind the veil. They're a lot of these people are being paid a lot of money. They're comfortable. They work for a major tech company. They're disconnected from reality and what's happening in the rest of the world because they don't have to be connected to it. And they're put into positions of power where, what they say goes. And unfortunately, that's what leads to a lot of these really unethical decisions. I mean, personally, I view censorship and shutting down people's monetization and deplatforming as unethical. This is something we haven't seen since World War II and maybe the Cold War. It's not normal and it's not good. And we've seen where this road leads, and it's just not very American.
I totally agree. As I said earlier in the program, I'm the biggest free speech advocate you'll ever meet, and I can't stand any forms of censorship. But I've always kind of felt like you said that Silicon Valley is a bubble. They're all in the same area. They're all very left wing. And I notice there's a lot of left. I don't like to play the whole the right's like this, left like this. But I notice with the left, mostly they tend to form these tighter knit bubbles. Usually it's because of the fact they live in cities. They're all sort of all in their little sphere with all their lefty friends, and they think everybody thinks like them. And if you don't believe me, just look at footage from November 9th, 2016. They were all crying because they thought there's no way in the world Donald Trump could have won the election. It's impossible. It's got to be fake news. It's got to be Russians. And, you know, as you explained, which is a very important thing that conservatives should be, you know, talking about more, or just anybody that cares about, you know, just having a decent workplace, that these beliefs go into the policies of the workplace. So what I'd like to ask you then is, from your experience or maybe experience of friends, what policies, what behavior, what culture have you seen in the workplace that has been a result of these beliefs? Like, you know, maybe give some examples, I don't know, some rules or way people have been treated. Like, what have you seen?
I mean, I try to stay out of it at this point, because every time I get involved with a lot of these major tech companies, you know, I can't even explain to them the decisions they're making and the impact they're having, because they just don't think them through.
Yeah.
They look at them from the lens of their ideology and their opinion and their identity, and that's it. They don't consider other people and that other people may have a differing opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So, to be honest, I kind of try to avoid a lot of those situations. I mean, I've had a lot of instances where I just had to remove myself from the equation because I don't want to deal with it. It's really unprofessional how some of these people behave, and it has a direct impact on me and my career. And I just, like I said, I just leave the room because it's not even worth debating these people.
Yeah. I've learned that too, that you're just simply not going to change most of these people's minds. It's really the people in the middle, the people on the fence, the people that really don't have a strong stance on anything, that are the most reasonable. And you can maybe show them that, hey, these ideas that like gender is a social construct are, you know, not based in science or stuff like that. Like, you can, you know, have that opinion, but it's totally just one-sided now.
Like,
very one-sided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, being in San Francisco, I was born in Fresno too. Like, and like the way, like, when you think of the Bay, when you used to think of the Bay Area back in the day, you always thought of, you know, free spirit, free speech, very, you know, those kind of values. And it's like, and really this whole nutty stuff that the progressive liberals have been doing really kind of, I think it kicked off right when Trump got elected. Like, but imagine hating someone so much that you're going to abandon the very foundation of what you believe in. Like, imagine hating someone so much that you're just willing to go 180 on everything that what you say you believe in, what you stand for. Where do you say, okay, so for you, from a tech perspective, where do you see this thing maybe potentially ending up? Because I mean, and I know it's hard because, you know, I mean,
yeah. So I mean, the technology has, you know, so there's two things that happen. When the election happened, we did not have the same kind of artificial intelligence that we have today.
Mm-hmm.
AI and machine learning has progressed significantly since 2016, and it's frightening now. The last 3 years have just been insane. The amount of technical innovation that we're seeing, we haven't seen this kind of innovation this quickly in a very long time. So that was definitely a factor, because the tools to censor and shadow ban and do all this were just coming into existence at the time that Trump got elected.
Mm-hmm.
So Trump himself actually used Cambridge Analytica and artificial intelligence to help him win the election. So a lot of people forget that. A lot of people don't talk about that. But the right is using AI just as much as the left is using it.
Yeah.
So what's happened is AI has become much more aggressive, and the tools have gotten better, and that allows them to change their algorithms to be able to censor people, shadow ban them. What Google and a lot of these tech companies do is, instead of completely censoring someone and shutting them down, what they do is they dial them down slowly.
Yep.
So instead of shutting them down completely, they just go, all right, we're going to turn your dial from 10, we're going to turn it to 9, we're going to turn it to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's what they've been doing since January on YouTube to a lot of independent producers and some of the people you've talked to earlier. And that's how they do it. They do the same thing with search results. They do the same thing with they do a yearly search change at Google, usually around May-ish. It depends, but when they do these things, they can literally eliminate anybody that they want, and they'll dial them down so slowly that you don't. If you're the creator or you're running the website or the news source or whatever, you're just watching your traffic go away slowly, and you're not sure why. But it's all because of algorithm changes being made by Google. And they've been doing this for 15, 20 years. I mean, it's really, truly anti-competitive behavior, and I think they should be investigated.
Yeah, I've heard about this for a while, too, because I've heard, I don't know if you know Scott Adams, he created the Dilbert cartoons, and he's been what people would call pro-Trump, but he's really just analyzed Trump in a more interesting way that's actually more accurate than any mainstream media hack job. But he has been noticing shadow ban on his followers, and even Vice actually wrote a piece where they admitted and found people like, I believe, the RNC chairwoman was being shadow banned. So I definitely see what you're talking about, where it's like, yeah, they won't just ban them, but they'll just sort of make them irrelevant. They'll be there, and they can, and that's what they'll do, I think, is they can then say, oh, we're not banning people. They're still there. Well, yeah, but nobody can see their stuff, and they're not coming up in the recommended section on YouTube, you know?
Yeah. Oh, it's Twitter, it's Facebook, it's every major social media platform. I mean, pick anybody who's considered to be center right, and they're probably shadow banned if they've got a significant social media following on one of those platforms, if not all of them. I recently interviewed Laura Loomer. I mean, people forget she's only 25.
Yeah, she's very young.
25-year-old journalist who has broken real news stories. I mean, she changed the FBI timeline in the Las Vegas shooting investigation.
Yeah.
And she's been deleted from every platform. Can't even have an Instagram or a Facebook account now.
Yeah, she's only on Telegram, and that's where I've had the app for a long time, but I've because I had a few friends on there, but it's totally been changed, recently now, where I have Milo, Gavin McInnes, Nick Monroe, Sargon of Akkad, Laura Loomer, Tommy Robinson, Paul Joseph Watson, and now Roger Stone. Because almost all those people have been either, they've all probably been shadow banned, but Milo and Laura Loomer are just deleted off the internet. Alex Jones has been deleted off the internet. So the only way we can stay up to date as consumers with them is through Telegram now. But of course, the question is, what do you do when they get rid of Telegram? What do you do when the leftist mob pushes these people to be banned off Telegram? Because Telegram will now be framed, and it's already starting to be framed as the platform of the, quote, alt-right, even though none of these people I named are alt-right. None of these people like the alt-right, and the alt-right hates all these people.
Yep. I mean, even if you Google my name, it'll autocorrect when you start to type my name in to alt-right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
even
Google has labeled me as alt-right.
Yeah.
Google. No one else has.
Yeah.
Just Google.
Well,
the fact that search engine can do that is wrong.
You hear about Philip DeFranco?
Yeah.
Oh my God. He's not even alt-right at all. Like they're like,
you vote for Gary Johnson.
They put him in the that's so
The
terrible.
New York Times had a piece where they laid out all these people as being extremists that lead to the alt-right. They had Gavin, Tommy, and Milo, and then him. And it's ridiculous. And to go back to Scott Adams again, I remember he was raising a bunch of complaints at Google a few months ago, because when you would Google Scott Adams, the first few pictures that would come up would show him in a Nazi uniform. Totally photoshopped, totally fake. He is not a Nazi. He is, to the left of Bernie on many things and to the right on conservatives on many things. He's really a very independent thinker. But there are pictures of him in Nazi uniforms, and he's scared because now he's going to lose book deals. He's going to lose speaking, engagements. He's going to lose all kinds of things he'd normally have because there are these fake pictures going around of him in a Nazi uniform. And, when you Google your name, you see alt-right. So who knows? Somebody might Photoshop you with a Nazi uniform. Now, don't anybody get that idea. But
so I wrote an article called Trent Lapinski alt-right, so that the first thing you see when you search Trent Lapinski alt-right is an article I wrote about how I'm not alt-right.
Yeah. There you go.
That's what I had to do.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you have to now.
Telegram is actually, and I was looking it up. This is like Russia. It was like developed by the same guy that created VK in Russia.
Russian connection.
Right. Well, yeah. And then so he left. I think he left Russia because I think there was some sort of like Russian interference, like Russian government interference. So I think he moved to Europe of something along those lines. But another question I was going to ask: how do you ever see there being like a Silicon Valley outside of Silicon Valley?
Maybe in Texas.
I mean, what's going to have to happen is we have to get better with our tech, and we have to decentralize. There are tools, blockchain tools, for example, decentralized databases. There are ways to build networks where it's peer-to-peer. We have BitTorrent. We had things like Kazaa and Napster. We've actually moved away from decentralized networks, went to the centralized networks. Now everyone's getting censored, and now we have to move back away from them and go decentralized again. That's the only hope.
Do you, I forgot to, again, I keep regretting I forgot to ask Sticks about this, but I asked Sam about this, but, there's a concept in marketing and the tech industry, I guess, too, of the network effect, where, if everybody's on one platform and all your friends are on that platform, it's hard to move to another platform. Do you, for example, if I'm on Facebook and Twitter and all my friends are on there, but none of them are on Gab, I'm not going to do much on Gab because nobody that I care about's on there. Do you see that becoming an issue with alternatives where, because of the network effect, we're going to have to do regulation of big tech? Yeah,
it's a cycle. We've kind of had this ebb and flow of social networks that existed anyways. There was MySpace before there was Facebook. So there has to be an evolution, and really what has to happen is the next generation, Gen Z, is going to have to say no to the big tech companies and choose something else. And if they don't, it's going to have to be the generation below them. And that's really how you create change, is you get the younger generation to reject the systems that the older generation is putting them in. And it's a 10, 15-year process to really, truly make some of those changes. It takes a long time. So that's probably going to have to be what's going to have to happen, is the younger generation is going to have to say no to using Facebook, no to using Snapchat, no to Twitter, and they're going to have to use alternatives that they own some of their data or there's privacy or protections built into them so that they don't lose their followers.
I'm curious on privacy. I've always kind of debated this in my mind. Do you think people care about privacy, or do you think people just sort of have an illusion that they have privacy, and that's where they're kind of like happy because ignorance is bliss, really?
You have to keep in mind, depending upon someone's age, if you're 15 right now, you've never had privacy. You've never known what privacy was because your entire life you haven't had it.
Yeah.
If you're 60, you remember life pre 9/11. You remember, what it was like to go to the airport and walk right up to your gate. Like, you have a memory of what it was like to have privacy before there was all this security and paranoia. So I think the older generations definitely remember what privacy felt like, and they gave it up for convenience. And the younger generation has never known. And that's the other thing to consider with some of these YouTube and Google employees. They're in their 20s. They grew up in a world of authority and control, and now they finally have a little bit of power themselves, and they're just taking advantage of it. generation realizes that privacy is important because it is. And ultimately, we live in a surveillance state. And, I mean, that's the reality. The world we're living in. This conversation, every conversation you have on the phone, all your texts, all those messages, all that stuff being recorded in the cloud in a database somewhere. And we finally have the artificial intelligence to analyze it all in real time.
Yeah.
We're there now.
Is there any other like little, I guess say insights in the tech world or things that people like us that are not as into that sort of universe that as you are, the stuff that we don't know that you'd like to mention that you haven't yet, little, angles that we haven't seen, or just, things that the average Joe just doesn't even realize are happening to them?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, a lot of the people in Silicon Valley know exactly what they're doing. They've built these apps, they've built these social networks to be addicting. They use psychological manipulation tactics. These apps function much like slot machines. The
I've heard that
infinity
before.
scroll, the beeps and the noises and all that kind of stuff. So they've literally designed these apps to be addicting. There's people whose job it is to work at a major tech company. They call it engagement. And, their entire job is to increase engagement. You can actually, this is a career. Like, you can work in the tech industry to make apps addicting for major tech companies. And they call it cute names, and they give them, fluffy names to make it sound like, oh, yeah, this is a good thing. We're increasing engagement. What you're doing is you're increasing addictiveness.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it. So I just caution people who aren't in the tech industry to understand that the people in the tech industry understand how psychology works, and they're building their apps and they're building these networks to control you.
I would say, I've heard that theory before because I remember Alex Jones, who, was a conspiracy theorist and all that. He would say stuff that Steve Jobs never let his kids play with an iPhone, iPad because he knew it was addicting. And I've always wondered, is that true? Maybe. I mean, these things are addicting, and as you point out, it seems to be relative. It seems just to be that way. And as an ad major graphic designer, one thing I look for is why things are designed certain ways. And one of the things that's consistent with any bit of software is that when you get a notification, it's always in those red little badges with a number on it. And of course, one is to catch your attention and it's good aesthetics. But number 3 or 2, most importantly, is that it just, you have to click it. Every time you see one of those red badges, you just have to click that. You have to do it. And that's probably part of the engineering involved with it. That's addicting.
It's social engineering.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've engineered us to do that. And I mean, one of the things you can do is turn those notifications off.
Yeah.
I do. I turn a lot of my notifications off. I put my phone on airplane mode and I run on Wi-Fi instead of LTE so they can't track me. There's little tricks and tools like that. You can install a VPN on your computer.
Yeah.
And you can screw up the app trackers, and there's different extensions you can download to block a lot of the ads so you're not getting exposed to all the surveillance tests. But they're still going to do everything they can to track you, to watch what you're doing, track your buying habits. And now they can use AI to actually do predictive analysis to predict what you're going to do next, and then make sure that is delivered to you.
Yeah, I know. I literally just a year ago, 2 years ago now at this point, really realized how big AI is and how this is the biggest issue of our generation, because it's a whole different beast. It's a whole nother level where you're having robots that are smarter than you, that can do things faster than you, quicker than you, better than you, smarter than you, stronger than you, whatever it is. I mean, obviously in the physical form of a robot looks like you, it's gonna freak you out. But people forget how AI is already in our phones. It's already in our computers. It's already on Facebook. It's already on Google. It's already on all these platforms. And as you're pointing out, it's basically manipulating you 24/7, and people don't seem to realize it.
I mean, I had someone come up to me once that was a 17-year-old, and she asked me what the internet was like before algorithms. And it blew my mind because I grew up, with with an internet that wasn't algorithm driven. I had to go to websites, I had to go to forums, I had to go find stuff to do, and it was infinite. You could just keep going and diving into all these rabbit holes, and you could never not find what you were looking for. But I feel like these days the internet has become so small. All these apps, they look and feel the same. It's the same content recycled and regurgitated over and over again. It's kind of scary because you can't even find what you're looking for on Google anymore.
Yeah.
Really, it starts with the search results, and that's really where ultimately something has to happen. Someone has to create another search engine, or Google has to be broken up, or something needs to happen, because what's happened is with search, we're being fed nonsense. We're not being given the actual answers that we're searching for, and we're force-fed results that don't allow you to think critically, that don't allow you to analyze, like, is this true or not? And people just assume because Google fed it to them that it's real. Yeah. And it's not.
I know, because every time I see like those cards pop up on Google, when you ask for definition or a fact about something, people, I notice in like videos now, like mainstream channels, like I don't want to use the name Vox, but I see in Vox videos, not a reputable source, but Vox and maybe like some other big names, they will, when they're showing a definition of something, they'll show a screenshot of the Google card, and I'm like, why is this all suddenly official? Like, I just think it's just silly that we're not, we're taking these things so for granted. We have to go to a break in a few minutes. Do you want to ask something? Or
no, I think it's funny. I think it's funny how like, and I think some of these people are just like not. I think some of these people are just stupid. I'm sorry. I like no, because it's like,
dare you?
No, because you'll have a chick that's like, hey, I don't want people. I want to keep my privacy. Hold on, I forgot my phone. Let me take my phone. Like, oh, you're no, natural selection needs to take its course. I'm sorry. So Section 230. So Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act is the part where they have the tech companies immune to litigation or liability.
Their content, yeah.
Right, but they have, and it's like because that's the whole publisher v.
Versus a platform.
Right, that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
It was created in 1996. Most of our platforms weren't even out yet. Like, do you think come on, shouldn't we be updated? At least update that part of
I mean, ultimately, we need a digital bill of rights.
Yeah.
Our laws are living, I mean, in the dark ages. They do not under the Senate and possibly even Trump and the current administration. They don't understand the power that the tech industry has. They don't understand the potential of AI. They don't understand where technology is actually at today.
Right.
And I mean, I'm fearful for the future of the economy because ultimately most jobs are going to go away in the next 5 to 15 years. Are going to be replaced by artificial intelligence.
Oh yeah.
It's already happened.
Yeah.
I remember I forget his name because it's a confusing Chinese name, but there was this guy on 60 Minutes that was sort of at the forefront of AI and wrote a book about it. And he said to Scott Pelley, the interviewer, that I think he said in 30 years, or it was sometime in our lifetimes, us college kids' lifetime, that I think he said 30 or 40%. I have to check these numbers, so don't take this for granted, listeners, but fact check me, please. But it was around, he said 30 to 40% of jobs would be displaceable by whatever time frame he said. And I was like, oh, crap. We are not prepared.
He's been talking quite a bit about this. He's running for president, actually.
Yes.
He's pushing for universal basic income.
Yeah.
And I think it's by 2030,
I think it's
20 to 30% of jobs are going to be automated.
Yeah. I think that's what I was hearing too.
To be honest with you.
I think Congress is just as clueless too. I remember watching. They had who the hell did they have? They had Mark Zuckerberg. They had Jack Dorsey, like in front of Congress, and they were talking, and they were speaking. They were answering the questions, and they were sort of answering the questions, but like you could tell that these some of these members of Congress had no idea what was going on, and I'm like, oh my God, what we're going to be harvested by robots in like 20 years, like, you know.
Well, that's the problem.
I mean, they've already harvested your Facebook profile.
No, I'm talking about harvesting bodies. I'm talking harvesting like War of the Worlds harvest.
Oh boy.
Like, yeah.
Well, to correct my statement earlier, the guy, his name was Kai-Fu Lee, and he said that in 15 years that AI will displace about 40% of the jobs in the world. So big scary stuff coming, and that shocked me too when he said that. But to go into Phil's point a little bit, yeah, these people in Congress have no clue anything about technology. They're totally dumb and out of touch. So my fear is that even though the government needs to get involved, it's going to be too slow, and it might be too late to get involved.
I mean, it could lead to a real culture war. I hope not a civil war. But I mean, we are already in the middle of a culture war.
Yep.
And you've got Silicon Valley flexing its muscle right now, and they're trying to shut down any voice that they disagree with before the 2020 election.
Yeah.
This is about censorship. This is about shutting down independent free thought and independent voices. And they don't want their platform to, play any part in that. They want to literally take away the followers that people have built over the last decade and prevent them from being able to reach an audience so that they can't even share their ideas.
Yeah, and you've heard people on the inside that would talk to Project Veritas and other sources. They would literally, and I think Breitbart too, and they literally say that it's consistent what you hear from these people. They'll say, yeah, these big tech companies realize Trump used their tools to win 2016, and they want it to not happen again because they saw what happened. He basically won because I'd say partially because of the internet. But last question I'll ask you is, how much of this censorship, how much of the banning and all these algorithms and any sort of silencing of these voices, how much of it do you think is political, and how much of it is just for money? It's just about being advertiser friendly.
Honestly, everything they're doing right now is really bad for their bottom line and their revenue, because they're basically telling half the country, you can't use our platforms, and that's bad for business. Mm-hmm. So the problem is these companies have so much money, billions, almost unlimited money compared to any other industry. And so they are willing to sacrifice revenue and profit for ideology and censorship. So that's what we're seeing right now. They prioritize censorship above revenue and profit. If YouTube, for example, was an independent company and all they did was being a video platform and nothing else, and they weren't owned by a giant advertising company, then they would not be censoring users. They would not be getting rid of their creators. They would not be shutting people down. They would be doing the exact opposite because that's good for business. So unfortunately, I believe that what these tech companies are doing is because they have unlimited funds, they can then use that. They can lose money. I mean, YouTube has lost billions of dollars. Google stock is free falling. Like, a lot of the major tech companies have lost tens of billions of dollars in value in the last week over the antitrust, investigations that are potentially going to take place. Mm-hmm. So these companies are losing money because of these decisions. They're losing creators. They're losing the trust of the community. They are not going to benefit from this in any shape or form from a financial standpoint. So the advertisers they're looking at this chaos and they're going, man, I don't want to touch this. So it's bad for YouTube. It's bad for Google. They're going to lose money, and it's bad for the creators because they're losing money. So all this is happening right now. This is all ideology. This is all politics.
Yeah, It's pretty depressing right now, but hopefully things do get better. And I think
You
like
might have to break them up.
yeah, well, here's the question. I actually have one more question. How do you break up these companies? Because since they are on the internet and they have servers or whatever it is, like it's not like a bank where they have little bank branches everywhere where all of this stuff is kind of, I guess, in one location. How do you break up, let's say, Google?
So Google, for example, they have multiple products and they have multiple product lines, but they only really make money from one of them, and that's advertising.
Right.
They're an advertising company.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to take the advertising division of Google and break it out from their cloud computing, and you made YouTube its own company that was only a video platform, and you were to take a lot of these products and separate them into separate companies and then force them to compete, then you would have more of a free market again. So ultimately, you'd have to break out the areas that are generating revenue from the other things that are losing money that are then riding on the backbone of these other things. So like Amazon, for example, they make most of their money from cloud compute.
Yes.
They actually sell products for a lot.
AWS
so when you
is
buy
big.
something on Amazon, Amazon's not necessarily making a profit off that. And then that's what destroyed small businesses, because small businesses can't offer items at those prices, but Amazon's willing to take the loss because they're making billions of dollars, inking CIA contracts for $500 million to be their cloud computing provider. Because most of the money that Amazon pulls in is from cloud computing and has nothing to do with any other product or service. You
nailed it right there. I only found out about the Amazon AWS mostly through you, Phil. But I'd heard about it before, but you really sort of like made me look into this more. And it is amazing how many companies run on that thing. It's if Jeff Bezos did, whoever did it, thought the idea was smart, thinking.
They set up so many data centers and availability zones, and it's like all over the world too. It's like, wow, there's no way that Google or even Microsoft is going to be able to catch up. Like they might inch close, but they'll never take out. Like they're too far ahead. There's too much capital in what Amazon is doing. Like
they own 70-80% of the market.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
Whoa.
Like it's real. It's real. I had another question. I guess this might be the last one.
This will be the final question.
Yeah. No, I enjoy this conversation.
Oh yeah, you were
great.
very interesting.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Do you think Silicon Valley is going to be so wrapped up in this this AI, like this trying to manipulate like social engineering and all this stuff? Do you think it's possible that they could be so caught up in this that they end up losing out to maybe foreign markets? Because there's still foreign markets are still developing, like in China, in Korea, and Russia, and all these. Like they're still developing. They're not going to stop. Like,
so unfortunately, this is kind of scary, but you got to look at who owns these tech companies, and they are owned by foreign investors. The Chinese, the Saudis. A Saudi prince owns more of Twitter than Jack Dorsey. So, unfortunately, the foreign market has already invested heavily in the tech industry. They're already influencing Silicon Valley, and that's also why a lot of decisions are being made. So they bought influence into these tech companies, and they own a piece of them. So that's why you see different things with different religions, and certain things happen on Twitter and some of their terms of service and policies. They're being influenced by the people who have invested in their company, and a lot of it is foreign money. If you were to get rid of all the foreign money from the tech industry, it would possibly collapse.
Wow. Well, that is like literally probably one of the most fascinating interviews I've ever done.
See,
this show.
this is why I wanted him on
Thank
here.
you, Phil.
This is why I wanted him on here. He's like worldly intelligent. And I was like, we needed something like this. Like we're going to talk about the Vox adpocalypse. Like you needed a tech perspective to be able to kind of
you need a tech expert.
Explain it all. Like so, thank you so much, Trent, for coming on here. Right?
Yeah, no problem, guys.
Yeah, well, definitely. Where can just so people don't forget, where can they find you online?
At Trent Lapinski on Twitter, on Facebook, Medium, at TrentLapinski.com, and then my new podcast is techpost.io.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for coming on again. I may ask you to come on again. I hope you're down for it, but I just love that conversation we had.
Yep. Let me know, man.
Awesome. I loved having you on. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a good one.
All right. Take care, guys.
You too. Bye-bye.